Hi, I'm Don, and this is the Hobbyist Geek. Welcome back, y'all. Today we're doing part 5 of our Holo Magic City build. We're finally beginning the assembly of the final product. And I am truly hopeful that we'll be able to finish it today. This has been on my table for a long time, and I am having a blast, but I cannot wait to see what the end result is going to be. So let's just get right into it. Alrighty, here's where the instructions are going to get really hard to read. Lots of action in a very small space, but let's see what we can do with it. First up, we have a C37 here, and that's going to go onto this A4 piece. Now, near as I can tell, this corner is going to line up with this corner, much like so. And there was a little indentation right here when cutting out this template. I believe that's where this is going to go. So something very similar to this is what we are looking at. So let me get that glued in and, well, hope I'm not screwing anything up. That's what it looks like. Let's see what I can do. Well, that looks like where it's supposed to go. And then we have a C95 here, and that will go right about here. So let's get some glue on there. We'll get that in place too. All right, right about like that. We can set this aside to dry and move on to the next step. All right, next up, we have A1 here. We're gonna flip it over so it's aligned like this. Now we've got two C37s here. They're gonna go like this with the hook facing left and this little tab here facing right into the innermost tabs. Much like that. That's actually a pretty tight fit too. I don't know that we're going to need any glue here at all. So with those in place, we have C96 here, and you can see there are two little holes. That's where those tabs are going to go. And this big tab is going to go into there. There we go, just like that. And we have two C97s, and those are going to go into these remaining slots. And this hook part will be facing left with these little tabs on the ends of 96 going into those little slots on the end there. All right, it does look like we'll need a little glue to keep that in place on that side, but everything else seems to be going just fine. All right, let me get that glue in place and I'll be right back. Alrighty, now with all of that in place, you may notice you've got like a hook here, here, and here. Well, those are gonna go into these 4 holes. So let's see what we can do about it. You may also notice this little inset little hook here. I believe that is for right there. So let's see if we can't get everything lined up and in place. All right, well, I was wrong about this little hook, but the rest of it works. As it turns out, look at that. Look how perfectly aligned that is. I don't know that I could have gotten any better if I'd had a template to work from. That worked out very well. Anyway, with that in place, we're going to bring out this assembly that we built before, and that is going to glue in here to become some steps. So just like that. So let me go ahead and get that glued in. and I'll be right back. All right, y'all, look at that. How freaking cool. I could be wrong, but I think we now have our base. So we know precisely how wide this is going to be and how deep. But let's continue. All right, next up, we're going to take this, which is C22. See these little areas right here? We've got 2 of these I-15s. They're going to glue right in place. So let me get that done. Look at that. Gorgeous. Now, on our base here, there's that little hook right here. That is going to slide in right here. And this edge is going to line up with the edge of, I don't know, this carpet, rug, whatever that is there, to make it nice and straight, just like that. So let me go ahead and get some glue in. We'll be right back. All right, come on guys, you got it. That's awesome. That is incredible. All right, with that in place, I completely lost my part. There we go. We're gonna need this assembly with the hinged part. And it's going to go right here. It's gonna line up with the edge of this, and the door is gonna line up with this. So let's just go ahead and get that puppy in place. All right, come on. You know you love it. I do too. Let's see what's next. All right, we've reached our first, let's hope I get it right, portion of this stage. Because it's not 100% clear on this very, very small picture. Everything we're gonna need and where it's gonna go. I believe I've got it all laid out here. So we've got 4 clocks. We got one of our briefcases. We got one of our little packages. We got our bulletin board. We got both bar stools right here. We've got our countertop. We've got this thing with the darts on the side. I believe, actually, this is going to end up being the battery box. And we have part C21. And I completely missed it, but here we're going to need the flag as well. And all of this is going to go into here. Oh yeah, we got this thing too. The potion display, I believe this is what that was called. I believe, well, it's all going to go into the space. Let's see if I can find a way to make it fit so that everything goes where it's supposed to. Now, the one thing I know for sure is this, okay? This is going to line up with this, okay? So it's going to basically create a cubby right in here. Kind of like that. To make sure that we've got all this room in here. That's where the battery box is going to go. That's why this little cutout is. That's why this little cutout is here, because that is where the wires are going to go. So let me go ahead and get all this in, and I'll show you what the end result looks like. Alrighty, y'all. Here we are in the first episode of God, I Hope It Got It Right. Here's what we did. We got this assembly here with the dartboard. This is the battery box thing, which we talked about a bit in depth. This is the C21 wall. As you can see, it comes up just before this angles off. We have our countertop, a little package, 2 bar stools, the potion display. Back here is where we've got the suitcase, the bulletin board, and 1, 2, 3, and 4 clocks. That is how I've chosen to do it. I'm guessing the placement is about correct. It looks like the countertop in particular is aligned with the front of the window. So the front of the countertop is aligned with the front of the window. That's how it looks. So that's how I've chosen to do it. Seems to be good, at least so far. Let's see what's next. Alrighty, up for the next part here. Before we get started, these little white spots right here, that's actually damage. That's not glue. It's unfortunate, but the bar stools had to be moved back. This is where the instructions really being bad came into play. This right here is C24, and that's got to go here. And I discovered that it could not go there with the bar stools where they had been placed. So now I've got damage. Good news is it'll be hidden by this, and you'll still be able to see it a little bit through the door that'll go here, but that is what it is. And there's nothing I can do, which sucks. It really does. But, well, there you go. C24 goes right here. This is C12, and that will close the gap between those two walls at an angle like this. And everything else you see here will come along here. We're going to have 6 I-36 pictures, which will hang around here. We got 2 I-19 pictures, which will hang in there. We've got this beautiful window that will go in here, like so. And we've got our vending machine, which is going to go right here. And we're going to finish it off with our magic sign, which will go right here. So let me go ahead and glue everything in, and I will be right back. Alrighty, y'all. So here is what I got. Alright. So there's our magic sign right there. And of course, our 2 walls. And over here, we've got our vending machine. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of paper. And of course, the window. And doesn't all of this simply look spectacular? This is gorgeous. All right, let us continue on. All right, this next stage should be very, very, very simple. Looking on the bottom of the wall here, you can see 3 little sections. Well, those sections are going to be filled with all 3 D17 stickers. Then we have our countertop here, and that I'm going to glue right in here, just like that. And we're going to finish it off with our banner, which is I-13. And that is basically going to start here and just go all the way here and then wrap around the wall. So let me go ahead and get this in. I'll show you what it looks like. Alrighty. There you go. There's the stickers, our countertop, and look at that banner. Spectacular. Alright. That, I believe, means we are done with our very first room. And it is time for us to move on to another one. I can't wait to see what's next. Let's get to it. Well, almost to the next room. We've got this little porch assembly, and that will glue right there. And we've got our first cat, and that will glue on top of it. So let me get that done. Look at that. Beautiful. All right. Now we can move on. Okay, we're about to start on the second building, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this. Let me take the camera off here. I wanna show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so basically, we have this part here, which is C8, I believe, C8, and it's gonna go in here, somewhere in there. Okay, the instructions seem to show it's like slightly off on both sides, but it's hard to tell exactly where. Okay, the problem is this has to be lined up perfectly because this has that channel, okay, for the wires, and there's another piece that'll go on top here that also has to line up with that hole. And if it doesn't line up perfectly, we might have some wiring issues. So I'm very concerned about getting the placement correct. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit. I'm gonna take our stairs. And as near as I can tell, the narrower side of the stairs lines up with the edge of this brown flooring portion. Okay, and then from there, the wall would go in here, and that'll make things a lot easier to line up. So I think this is going to be the best option I have for ensuring everything is lined up appropriately. Best guess. So, before I get to the stairs, I'm going to build out C8 here, and we have two C128s that are these little window frames. And those are just going to pop in here and here. So let me go ahead and get those things glued in, and I will be right back. All right, look at that. Looks spectacular. On the inside, I've got it flush. It looks like it's flush. On the outside, there is a slight lip, adding for a more textured finish. So now it's gonna be the point of no return because there's no way to test this. I can't just like stack it up and hope it stays to make sure that it fits right. So this is kind of a go for broke move here. I'm gonna go ahead and glue the stairs in just like discussed. All right, there it is. I am really nervous at this point. All right, we're gonna go ahead and glue on the bottom of this wall, and we're gonna slide this in as well, lining it up with this wooden flooring as well as inside this indentation right there. So let's go ahead and get that done. All right, there we go with that. Oh, it's tilting over. Obviously the glue isn't dried enough yet. Line that up again. All right, we're gonna let this dry a little bit and I'll be right back. All right, since nothing is like lining up with what's on the base here, I'm gonna do something else. We gotta glue this thing in place. Now that's gonna line up with the back side of this wall, okay? But I need to make sure it is perfectly straight because this, which is C11, is gonna come in right here, okay? And it's gonna line up with this wall. So you don't wanna glue this in. We're not ready for that yet. But you can use it to make sure everything is aligned when you're gluing in your bookcase. Okay, so be careful with your glue. Let's get this bookcase in. Alrighty, there we go. As good as I can get it. Gonna let that dry a little bit before we start putting some more stuff down. Really hope we got the alignment right here. Alrighty, this thing should be dry enough now. Next up, what we're gonna do is take our little table with the green crystal ball. We're gonna glue that in the corner there. Just like that. Now we've got this little picture and it's gonna go right on the floor leaning up against that windowsill. Kind of like that right there. All right. Now with that in place, what we're gonna do is take this setup, and with the, what is that, the knob, the whatever, the red part facing the bookcase, we're gonna place this effectively right in the center of the room. I'm gonna put the legs right up against where this carpet ends and center this thing facing the bookcase. Right there. Now we've got our liquor bar basically. And that is gonna go in the corner here. Now don't put it too close because remember, we got this wall that's gonna go in right here. You can actually use the wall to help you make sure that you've got it lined up properly. And it's effectively going to go parallel to this centerpiece. Right about there should be perfect. And this is what we've got so far. Look at that. It's pretty gorgeous, isn't it? All right. Moving on. All right, time to prep the next wall here. First things first, we got this piece, which was C11, and then this, which is C94, and that will pop into there. So let me go ahead and get that glued in. I'll be right back. Perfect. Now with that in place, we've got two more I-19s right here, and those will glue to the wall, exterior wall, right about there. So let's get that done. Just like that. Nice. Now in the inside, you've got this owl clock, and you'll want to put it in, around here, give or take. Bear in mind that a very small portion on this side here, you're going to have a wall attached to it. So don't put it all the way on the edge. Over here should be just fine. So let's go ahead and get that in. Yeah, it should be good. Right about there. Now, we're going to glue it in place. Again, this edge will go into this indentation. And this edge, if you got it right, should line up with the bookcase. So you should be just fine. But if you need an extra test, you've got this, which is C10. And C10 is going to come in right here. And it's going to glue in to these walls just like this. So if you want that extra little bit of comfort to know that this is going to fit, there you go. So let's get this glued in. I'll be right back. Look at this. Look at this. It is spectacular. All right, let's let the glue dry a little bit. We'll be right back. All right, next up, we're gonna start building this wall. We're gonna have to decorate both back and front. And let's just get into it. Let's go with the back side first. We have these two, and they're going to glue one on either side. All right, should look like that. Now we're gonna want the glue on this to fully dry because we're gonna be doing some manipulation over here. We wanna make sure we don't accidentally make those move. So let's let those dry and come right back. All right guys, it looks like I actually missed a piece. While I was waiting for this to dry, I was just reviewing the instructions and I happened to see this. This is C130 and they just kind of snuck it in. It's unbelievable how closed, how horrible these instructions are. Basically, that's going to go into this hole here. Now, thankfully, this is still mostly open, so it should be doable to get this thing in there. In fact, I'm almost doing it by accident while talking to you guys. So, let me get this in, and I'll be right back. All right, look at that. Wow. All right. Now, just to show you guys how I missed this. So if you are following along in the instructions, you can see what I mean. First off, look at how small these instructions are. Okay? And they're filling it with like everything. Now up here, this is where you install the wall for it. Okay? Here's the next one. See, it's still not there. And then you come here where you're supposed to install the back wall. So this is where your eye goes. And this is where they're like, oh yeah, and don't forget to add that window. Okay. Coming down here, you can see no wall at all. But when this wall goes in, they've got the window frame. So it's all drawn to the piece you're installing. Here, it wasn't. And that is basically how I missed it. I realize I'm just making excuses for my own failure, but really they could have done a lot better with those instructions. That's unfortunate. But at least it's in. I caught it. It's in. It looks good. So, woohoo! Alright. Next up, I think this is dry enough. We can flip it over. Alright, we've got this piece, which will glue right about there-ish. So let's get that in. Look at that. And now we're gonna have to bring our stickers back out. So we're gonna use two of them. First, we're gonna use D33. And then it's just gonna go above what we just put in. And then we're going to do D26. It's this one. And that will go over here. Alright, those stickers are actually a little hard to see, but that's okay. And with that in, we can put this in place. And like I said, it's going to go right in between these two walls. So let's go ahead and get that glued in. All right, y'all. Look at that. Gorgeous. Now, we're going to come around to the back here. We've got our music box assembly. And that is going to glue in right here. Just about like that. So let's get that glued in. And I'll be right back. All right. How perfect is that? Incredible. And now we can move on. Alrighty. Coming back around to the front here. We're going to start with a little bit of fencing. We got two of these C38s. And I don't know which side is the top and which is the bottom. Using a magnifying glass and looking very closely, it kind of looks like this side would be the top with this little six-pointed star facing upwards. So that's the way I'm going to put them. I'm sure it doesn't matter, personal preference, but I like to try to follow the instructions as close as I can. So that's what I'm going to do, is try to keep those up. We'll go from there. Those are going to go right here on the outside, just kind of lining the edges from the wall up to the end of this fence. So let's get those in. All right, that is how I've got mine. Next up, we've got this suitcase, and that's basically going to go from this edge to about the fence, just kind of kitty corner like this. Let's get that in. Okay. Now we got this, which is C129, and that's going to glue in here, pretending it's a half open door. Okay, so it's not actually going to attach, it's just going to glue in. We're going to pretend it's a half open door, something like that. So let me get that glued in. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, we're going to finish this off with another of our little packages here, and that's going to go right here in this corner. And there we go. Awesome. All right, let's see what's next. All right, next up, we've got a little careful work here. We have C93. And that's going to glue right here on the other side of these fences. You see, here's the deal. You've got two of these C92s, and those are going to glue and connect the top of this to the top of that. So, kind of got to be careful about which way you're doing this. Yeah, should work. And maybe it's just me, but it looks like this side is a bit darker than this side, just slightly. I'm sure it doesn't matter which one goes on the outside. These are bilaterally symmetrical, so it's a personal preference, but if you want the colors to match, make sure that you do so. I'm going to use the darker side facing the outside. So let me go ahead and get those glued in, and we'll go from there. All right, look at that, look at that. That looks pretty spectacular to me. All right, let's see what's next. Alrighty, next up, we're gonna be taking all of this, we're gonna be putting it into the alleyway here. So first up is this little assembly. And that's going to go right in front of the doorway in there. So let me go ahead and get that in. All right, beautiful. Now right next to that will be our newspaper stand. So let's get that in. All right. So right about there, look at that. All right. Next up, we're going to take our closed box and one of our open boxes. We're basically going to glue them together, kind of like this. Okay, let's get that done. All right, just like that, and that will go at the end of the alley next to the newspaper stand. And with that in place, the other open one will go next to it on the other side of the alley. So it'll look a little something like this and you're done. Very nice. Next up, we've got our little potion thing. That'll come in right in here. So let's get that glued in. All right. Look at that, beautiful. And right next to that is going to be our book stand. So let's go ahead and glue that in too. Okay guys, come on. That alleyway looks amazing now. But we're not done just yet. This is going to require a little careful manipulation, and it is not in any way, shape, or form clear as to where this stuff goes. We have two signs. Okay, this will go on the right side of the alley, this will go on the left. And you're basically going to hang them from the walls here. What's not clear is exactly how low. Now I've pulled out one of these. This is C64. This is going to go on the bottom of the little bridge that's going to connect here. Okay, so you're going to want to make sure that your signage is lower than that. You don't want any interference whenever you try to put the next level flooring on, okay? So I'm gonna kind of play around a little bit, see what I can do with this, and come back and show you what the end result is. Okay, so that is what I've come up with for lighting, or not for lighting, for the signage. And when I put this in and I line it up with the lower side of this little assembly, it seems to give me just enough room, so I should be good. Plus, frankly, just looks great. My opinion. All right, let's let this dry and we'll move on to the next bit. All right. Now we're going to take this. This is that A3 and this assembly. And we're going to take the wires and they're going to go down through this hole right there. All right. And in the end, you're going to want to glue this to the floor right about there. So let's go ahead and get that glued in. All right, that should be sufficient. Now we can't really do anything until that glue dries because we're going to have to flip this over and it'll be upside down for a while. So let's let this dry and we'll be right back. All right, that should be dry enough for the next step. Basically, we're going to flip it over. We're going to take the cable and it's got to go into this cable channel all the way through and out this end. And you're going to want to glue it in place. Should be fine. If you do, look at that. Looks good. Now don't fill it up too much with glue. We got two more cables that are going to go in there. So let me get this in place and we'll do the other two. All right. I expect these will probably pop out a couple times as we're going, but for now we're okay. Next up, we're going to take the sole remaining unused light, and that's basically going to go right here, and we're going to glue the cable down, and it's going to follow the same channel. So let's get that done. All right, it should look a little something like that when you're done. Obviously I got to tidy up down here a little bit, and then you're going to finish it off with this, which will go right here at this intersection and then follow it down and come out the same hole over here. So let me get that done and I'll be right back. Look at that. Absolutely spectacular. Now, what we're going to do with this, bring the model back out here. Right here, there's a little slot. That's where these cables are going to go. So you want to line it up and then glue it all down. So let's go ahead and make that happen. Oops. Actually, before we get to that, knew I forgot something. We've got these C64s. Those C64s are going to go right here and here. So let me go ahead and make that happen, and I'll be right back. All right, should look like that. Now I want to let those dry before I actually install this, so give me a minute, I'll be right back. Alright, it should be dry enough for us to do what we need to next, and that is get all of this into there, just like I described before. With all of these cables going through that slot right there. And then we line this thing up. And that is right there how it should fit. So let me go ahead and get this thing glued in place and we'll move on. Okay, y'all, you can't tell me that doesn't look amazing. That is spectacular. Awesome. All right, let us see what is next. Alrighty, y'all. Now we're going to start prepping this piece. First things first, we're going to take this light, and that's going to go through this hole for the cables. Alright, and then we're going to glue the light just like this. So let me go ahead and get that done. I'll be right back. Alrighty, look at that. Make sure it is hanging off the edge there, and the back is right on the edge. That's how you know you got it in the right placement. Hopefully this is dry enough for us to continue on. Now the cables here, they're just going to come right down this channel, but we have several more that will be joining it. So next up is this beauty. All right, now this is going to go and glue onto the ceiling right there with the cable coming down the channel and over here to join with this. So let's go ahead and get that done. So it should look like that when you're done. And now you're ready for the next step. Sorry, shaking the camera there. All right, for the next bit, you're basically going to balance this like this. And this cable is going to come all the way up through this channel, join with these, and then follow along and out this side. And when you're done doing that, you're just going to fold it down. Okay, this right here should line up with this hole here. And then you've got these two slots that will line up with these two tabs. So let me see if I can get that done, and I will be right back. Alrighty, look at this. And all our cables coming right where they're supposed to out the back. That is beautiful. All right, let's see what's next. Actually, before we do, this right here, you might notice more white spots. Guess what? That had to be moved too. It was too close to the edge. Man, do I wish these instructions were better. But as it turns out, the wall that's going to go there has to go on the inside of the wood paneling. in order to make everything fit. And I couldn't do that with its previous placement. So we will have to resolve that. Well, I did resolve that, but you get the idea. So be careful on your placement. All right, let's see what's coming up next. Okay, we're gonna be working over here now, building out our bed and bath. We're gonna kick things off with C17. It's this little thing here, and it's just going to come along the edge right here like this. Okay, right on the edge of it. So let's go ahead and get that done. Look how pretty that is. Now we have two of these, which are C135, I believe. And you've got a little angled space there. These are going to go in just like this. It's kind of a privacy marker. So let's go ahead and get that done. All right. I don't want to tilt this up and give you a better view just yet. I'm afraid they're going to lean a bit if I do. So we'll leave it in place for the moment and let the glue dry, and I will show you later. But for now, we got our bath. And our bath is going to sit right in here when you do. Now, make sure no edge goes over the tile portion, okay? When you place it. Right about there should be fine. All right. All right, next up, I'm going to take this and we're going to apply this image to it, this picture. And we'll go right there. So let's get that in. Look at that. Now this is going to go right here. Now it's important to note, it's going to sit on the wood flooring, but just inside, lined up with the brick. So the outer edge of this should line up with the brick and line up with the rear back here. Very important. So it should go in much like this. So let me go ahead and get that glued in. All right. With that in place, this needs to be built a little bit too. On the inside, the purple side, we're going to hang this picture. Just like that. And this is going to go, again, on the wood, just inside here. Lined up on this edge with this wall. So it should look like this. Very nice. While we wait for that to dry, we can come over here. And our bed is going to get placed right here. So let me go ahead and get that in. Right about there. Look at that. Spectacular. All right. Let's see what's next. All right, next up, we have this, which is C13. Okay. And we've got our gold star here. And that is going to glue right about there. So let's get that in. Just like that. And this whole thing is going to glue on this side. Again, just inside the brick on top of the wood, and it's going to line up with the rear and cover up this edge right there. All right. While that's drying, we're going to go ahead and take this, and that will go on the front and just line up with the front edges on both of these. All right, come on. Look at that. Does that not look spectacular? That's gorgeous. And now, we've got these. These are C20. We've got 2 of them. And those are going to go on the bottom step right here. And another one on the other side. And basically go like this. I'll show you what it looks like once we've got them glued in. So it should look like that. Awesome. All right, let's see what comes up next. Okay, next up, we have, what is this, C14 here. Now that's going to come in right here, and it's basically going to line up with this edge and this edge inside. I'm just going to hang here, lining up with this portion of the roof as well. So let's go ahead and get that in. All right, with that in place, we got C15 and C16. 15 will go here, it's the longer of the two. 16 will go here to close the gap. All right, spectacular. All right. Now, we're going to take this piece, and that's going to bridge the gap right about in the center, right here. So let's go ahead and get that in. All right, and with that in place, we have this, which is C67, as I recall. And that is going to bridge the gap between the front and the back and go right on top of that triangle we just put in place. So let me go ahead and get that done. All right. Look at that. Look at that beauty. All right. Now, first thing we're going to do is we have our C7 templates, or not C7, just 7 templates. And those are going to go in here, these 2 areas. We're going to glue them down to make that roof. So, let me get that done. All right. There it is. Our roof section is complete. Nice. All right, now we've got another roof section. And this roof section is going to glue right on top of this. So let's go ahead and make that happen. All right. Look at that. Now, got a couple of decorations to add. First and foremost, we've got this, which I believe is C144. And that is just gonna go around the door here. So, let's go ahead and get that glued in. That's gorgeous, isn't it? Very, very nice. All right. Right next to it, we've got this star. Let's go ahead and get that in. All right, should look like that. Now, we've got this sign. And that is going to go about here-ish. It's really hard to tell exactly where on the instructions. So I'm going to guess it's right on the edge, just below the first level of bricks. Let me go ahead and get that glued in. Right about there. Best guess anyway. I do hope that is accurately placed. And last but not least, we've got this cat. And that will go right in the middle of the walkway right there. Just like that. Look at this. Look at how gorgeous this is looking so far. This is an absolutely beautiful piece. I can't wait to see what's next. Okay, next up, we've got our spiral staircase. Now that's going to go down into this hole. And the end result is that this top step is going to be on this side of the square. So, let's see what I can do about making that happen. Okay, come on. How awesome is that? That is really spectacular, actually. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, what's up next? Alrighty, so much to do. First, we've got I2. I2 is basically going to go right in here, just like that. Now, I'm going to admit a mistake. This also is I2. And this was supposed to go on the floor in the bedroom. It's too late now, everything's glued in place, not happening. But it wouldn't matter anyway in the bedroom because the bed pretty much covers this up entirely. So, yay. Why they didn't just print these on, I mean, it's just paper on top of paper, is a complete mystery to me. But there it is. But for this, I caught it in time. So we're going to go ahead and put this in. And that is right about where it should go. Awesome. All right, for this next step, we're going to take this big piece and this wonderful clock here. And we're basically just going to hang it right about here. So let me go ahead and get that in place. Beautiful. Now this is going to come onto our model. It's going to go right here. It's going to be right on the edge. Do not cover this hole. It'll be on the wood, inside both sides. It should line up just about perfectly. So let's go ahead and get that in. Excellent. Now while that's drying, I'm going to build out this puppy. Now this is the inside, this is the outside. It's important to note. So this is the side that's going to face the walkway. It's important to note because we have another one of these 144s, and that is going to go right here. So let's go ahead and get that thing on. Look at that. All right. We also have this, and I honestly cannot read which part it is, and I can't remember off the sprue, but it's the only one like it. Pretty easy to find, and that will go inside the window there. So let's get that in. All right, look at that. Nice. All right. Now, we have this picture, which will go right about here, and this clock, which will go right about here. So let's go ahead and get those in place. should look a lot like that. Now this is going to come in and glue on right in here with this edge meeting up with that wall. Okay. Look at that. Beautiful. All right. We have 2 of these C40, I believe is what this is. And these are going to go onto the walkway on either side. You can see there's a notch. That's for the raised lip here. So we're just going to go ahead and get those in to finish off that little walkway there. All right, come on guys. Is that not spectacular? All right, moving on. All right, next up, we have our little table here. And that is gonna go right about here. Center of the rug. So let's get that in. All right, and with that in place, I'm gonna start surrounding it with some stuff. First up, we've got this suitcase, which is kind of gonna hide behind right about there-ish. Let's get that in. We have our remaining book. Look at this, we're finally using this thing. And that'll have dropped on the floor right about there. Awesome, awesome. And last but not least, we have our remaining alcohol tray. And this too will have fallen onto the floor, in this case, right about there. So let's get that in. All right. For a bit of a closer look, there you go. Look at that. That is spectacular. Love it. All right, let's see what's next. Alrighty, y'all. Next up, we're going to be taking this, which is C29, and well, what the instructions want is for us to place it here, okay? Which we'll get to. The thing is, afterwards, they want us to attach this light and then glue the wire all the way up here, and I figure that's going to be much harder doing it when it's here than when it's like this. So, we're going to do it now. When you're looking at the front, and you know it's the front because the hole will be on the right side, take your cables for this light, well, one of them, and push it through this hole. All right, and now we're going to glue the fixture right about here-ish. So let's go ahead and get that done. Okay, and with our light in place, you're going to take your cables, and you're going to want to bring them straight up, then you'll angle them here and bring them over towards the apex, just like this. And you're going to want to glue them to the frame. So let's go ahead and get that done. And it should look a bit like this when you're done. Look at that. And we're going to bring this out, and you can tell on the pattern on the floor there are 3 little places where the foot of these are going to go. So they're just going to go right in here with this side melding with this wall here. So everything should align very nice, just like so. So let's go ahead and get that glued in. Look at that. Wonderful. All right. The next up, we have this. This is C65, okay? And that is going to connect these two apexes here. So let's go ahead and get that glued in. Just like that. Now it's critically important that the glue on that dries completely before you begin the next step. So give it some time and we will come back. All right, next step is going to be kind of fun. We're going to take this light and we're going to glue it like right in the center here. Now the objective is to have this cable come over and join it, and then they're both going to come over here. So try to orient it so the cables are going out in to the left when you glue it in, so that we can get into the next step. Alrighty, it should look a little something like that when you're done. Then you're going to want to come in. You will glue the cables right about here. So they're going to angle down following the edge and then come down and go into through this hole right here. So let's make that happen. And it should look a bit like that when you're done. Look at that. All right, what's next? All right, next up, we're going to start prepping this piece. This is C27. Now we have two I-14s and one I-10. And those are all going to glue on right. Yeah. I mean, these are obviously not perfect yet, but yeah. So we're going to glue them on right about there. Okay. So let me get that done. I'll be right back. Look at that. With that in place, we're going to take our final light here, and that is going to go through, excuse me, that is going to go through this hole and glue to the frame. And it should look like that. Awesome. Alrighty, y'all. Now that we've got everything glued together, these cables are going to go through this hole again, and this is going to glue down right there. So it'll attach here, and of course on the ground. So let's go ahead and get this thing in place. Alrighty, look at that. All of our cables coming in and going into that hole right there. All right. Next up. Now, what we're going to do next is take this piece. We're going to put it into that corner. And all of the cables are going to have to go through this little hole right here. So it's going to take a little bit of manipulation, some caution, and a little bit of luck. And we should be able to get that puppy in there. So let me see what I can do about it. All right, look at that. That actually went in easier than I thought it would. Nice. Next up, we're going to take this little suitcase here, and that's going to sit on top of that cabinet and cover up the wires a little bit. Something like that. Very, very nice. Awesome. All right, what I'm about to do next is actually supposed to be the last step, but well, I'm an impatient guy, and now that we've got all of our lights in there, I want to test and make sure that they are all fully functional together. And might as well just get the wiring done while we're at it. So the first thing you want to do is separate these cables. Okay, you're going to want basically a strand of white and a strand of gray. So let me get that done. Okay, now that we've got them separated into gray and white, you're going to want to cut them so they're approximately the same length to their termination point. After which comes the fun part where you got to strip the insulation from all 16 cables. and then we will resume. Alrighty, y'all. Now that I've got the white and the gray leads shortened, stripped, and consolidated, I'm going to take our power leads. I'm going to strip those a little more too. I'm going to twist them up. Remember, black to gray, red to white. Now I'm going to take a little electrical tape here, and we're going to wrap them up to protect them and make sure that there's no interference and tidy things up a little bit. All right, now let's flip it on. Let's take a look. How's it working? It is 1, 2, 3. There's 4. 5, 6, and it looks like we've got 7 and 8 both in there as well. That is spectacular. All 8 lights are ready to rock and roll. So now we're just going to tuck all of this into this cubby and we'll move on. All right, now that we know the electronics are working, it's time to put a roof on this. I'm going to kick things off with 11, template 11, and that will go right here. So let me go ahead and get that glued in. Beautiful. Then we're going to flip it around, and we are going to take 12, and that will go in here. So let's go ahead and get that in as well. Gorgeous. All right. Let's see what's next. All right, next up, we're going to take this, which is, I believe, C173. We're going to glue that right here to frame that window. So let me go ahead and get that done. Okay, with that in place, we have another I-36 here, which will glue onto the wall right there. Just like that. And now we have this piece, which is going to glue in right in here. Now make sure there's going to be a banister that comes across, so make sure you're not blocking anything that would go there. So right about there should be fine. Then we're going to come back here, and we have this sign. That's going to glue in right around here-ish. All right, look at that. Right there. We're going to let that dry before we really move on. I'll be right back. Alrighty, next up, we have the last I-36 here, and that is going to go right in here. So let's get that in. Alright, next up is going to be kind of a tough one. Basically, we have these. Okay, these are C46. And they're going to go in here like this, kind of crossing the gap between the two. Placement on these isn't very clear in the instructions. It looks like one is just about here and the other is just about here. That's what it kind of looks like. Obviously, they would just go straight across to the other side. So I'm going to do my best to get these in place. I'll show you what the end result is. Alrighty, that's really the best I can do here. What do you guys think? Think it looks good? Next up, is that puppy. Little bat here. It's A14. And honestly, it's going to go somewhere on the roof. Don't know where, because it's not clear. And I've actually looked online, and there are several different positions depending on who's doing the building. So really, you can put this anywhere you want. So that's what I'm going to do. And there's my choice. What do you think? Decent placement? All right, now we're going to come down here, and right in this little corner, we have our little dove. So let me get that in place. All right. That thing really did not like its perch. Finish off this section, we've got this sign here, the Aobi, or whatever that is. And that will come in right about here, and we're going to glue it in place. Alrighty. Look at that puppy. This is looking really, really spectacular. Alright, next up, we got C39 here. That's going to fence in this section right here. Alright, with that fence in place, we have C48 here, and that will close in the front. And look at that. Look at that. Alright, next up, we've got two of these C58s, and they're going to go basically like this on both sides of that structure. So let me get those glued in. All right. Look at those spires. All right. Next. Alrighty, y'all. Next up, we got two of these. These are C49s. Those are going to bridge the gap between this and this wall, as will this. This is C47, same basic deal, bridging the gap between the two. So let's go ahead and get those glued in. All right, should look a little like that when you're done. We'll let it dry and move on to the next bit. All right, next up, you should have two of these. These are the number 10 templates, and those should glue right in here and one more on the other side. So let's go ahead and get that glued in place. Look at this. Look at that. That is gorgeous. All right. What's next? Next up is C59 here, and that will glue right on the front of this. So let's go ahead and get that in place. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. All right. All right, next up, we have two of these. These are C30s, and they are going to go right here. So let's go ahead and get those glued in. All right, there they are. And with those in place, we've got this, which I'm not even sure. I think it's C28. And that will glue right here to close the gap. So let's go ahead and get that in. All right, look at that. All right, we've got one more little piece here. That would be C43. And that is going to go on here like this. So let's get that glued in. All right, should look a bit like that when you're done. Next up, we have our final two pieces of roof. Those are going to go on either side of that to close in the gap. All right, look at that. Okay. Roof is done. On to the final stretch. All right, for this next section, we're gonna take D16 here, and that will go right in here. All right, and with that in place, we have our potted plant, and that will go right behind this sign. And our final bat, which will go up right about there. And look at all of that. Nice. All right, next up, we've got these two crates. They're gonna come in about like so. Remember, you need room for the fencing that's gonna go here, so don't block that. Should look a little something like that when you're done. All right, now we have C39 and C63, and they're gonna close in the fencing on this balcony here. So let's go ahead and do that. Look at that. Look at that. We're on the home stretch, y'all. All right, let's push through. We're almost done. First up, we have two more of these C20s. One will go here, and one will go here. So let's go ahead and get those glued in. All right, right there and right there. Very, very nice. Now, we've got our last black cat. And that will go right on the doorstep to the magic shop. Right there. We have our owl, which will perch right up here on the fence. And our signboard, which will come right down around here-ish. Look at that. Oh yeah. All right. What's next? Okay. Right over here, in front of this shop here, and a little bit right here, we're gonna have our last two packages, our final suitcase, and both of these paintings, and they're all gonna go right in that area there. So let me go ahead and get those glued in. I'll show you what it looks like. And there you go. Look at that. Last but not least, this. That is going to go right in the center of that ring there. So let's go ahead and get that glued in place. And there it is. And that, my friends, completes this build. If you don't have the dust cover. The dust cover is the last piece for me. Okay, so here are the pieces for the dust cover. And basically you've got two short sides, you've got two long sides, and then you've got the top. I would love to do this on camera here at my station, but I can't. I know it's hard to tell, but this is actually a folding table, and the center is not level, and I need a level space to do this. So I'm gonna have to take this to another area of the house to actually glue it in. But it's just a matter of gluing the edges and making a box. Nothing too strenuous. I will be using this G50, it looks like Guo Elephant Instant Adhesive to make it happen. So let me go ahead and do this, and then we'll be back for the final shots. And here it is, the Holo Magic City, fully assembled and looking pretty freaking spectacular. This thing is awesome and really, really worth the money, man. This is bang for your buck, man. This is a good 50 to 60 hour build, at least. The sheer amount of detail on here is astounding. I really, really like it. Let's stop the spinning, bring you in, we'll get a closer view. Well, I suppose before we go all close, here is the dust cover. All right. Now, I do not like this dust cover. Sure, it'll do what it's supposed to do, but the quality of the plastic is pretty low. The paper, the protective paper that was on it, was glued on a little too tight. The adhesive was too strong. So pulling it off was a pain. It caused marring, a couple of scratches. Really, just getting the paper off. And then gluing it together was a bit of a pain too. The edges are very, very thin. So not a lot of attachment there. And then, well, it just seems flimsy. Honestly, it really does. That said, it's a clear box that goes over the piece and will protect it from dust, so it does exactly what it's supposed to do. Now, coming in, as you can see, we've got our balcony and all of that beautiful detail all over it. And I mean, there's no way for me to actually specify all of the detail that we've got here because there's just too much. There's just too much. You can see the table in there, the suitcase, the book, even the little wine stuff on the floor there. You got your magic wand in the back. This is great. There are 8 lights. All 8 are fully functional. And, you know, I think they missed an opportunity. I think one more light could have gone right here. But, you know, c'est la vie. 'Tis what it is. Coming on down, you've got your shop here. And all of that detail. You can even see the spiral staircase in the background. Your countertop. All of the detail here on the front. Coming around, you've got you know, your window, your vending machine, all of the papers everywhere, advertisements and things like that. Absolutely amazing. I personally really like this dark alley. I mean, you've got the cat, you've got the newspapers in the background, the little newspaper stand, little potion shelves, and a public book. Over here, you've got, I don't know what this is. Church, an extension of the shop. I honestly don't know what that is. But you can see it's 6:04, so there's that. Of course, you've got your clock here. You've got the upper alley with the little walkway there and the signage in the back. Over here, you've got your bed, which is almost impossible to see, to be honest. But it is there. And over here, another view of the bedroom, just not much of one. Coming on down, you've got an interior view of this shop extension / church or whatever. And, you know, all the work that went into that robe that's hanging on the thing there, you can't really tell. You can't see. A lot of that painstaking detail that we put into this is sadly invisible. Up here, you've got that bathroom and a much bigger view into the bedroom. However, that privacy screen kind of prevents it. So there's that too. Not much more on the back. There's your music box handle. This just will not stay shut. I think they should have shaved just a little more off of this for the hinges to work properly and this to shut the way it's supposed to. But it's a minor gripe. In fact, that's really all I've got are minor gripes. Of course, you got the bats and the belfry. This is an amazing piece. Took forever, but it is done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this build. I did. I really hope you did too. If you did, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.